Hi everyone, I'm Ashvi, Dr. Bardwaj, and thank you Priya and Andy and the whole of the anaesthetic room for having me here today. I'm a normal GP, a normal doctor. I've been a doctor for nearly 20 years now, but for the past decade or so I've been practicing something called lifestyle or functional medicine, which a lot of people, like, what the hell is that nonsense? But it's this wonderful way of getting to the root cause of people's health problems. And, lo and behold, you get to the root cause of someone's health issues, you fix those root causes and they're better. They're basically free of symptoms or free of antibodies, their blood results get better, and they're basically cured. I know you're not really allowed to use that word. So it's a really, really phenomenal way of understanding the human body from a really, really deep physiological perspective, kind of like what we were all taught at medical school. I incorporate 4 pillars into every single patient I see, and those are sleep, stress, food, and exercise. And in kind of incorporating those 4 pillars and working on different aspects of these, people really, really do get better within the space of days on occasion. So today I'm going to talk about sleep, and then in some upcoming videos I'm going to talk about stress and then food and also exercise and movement. So thanks for the opportunity today. I'm going to just talk for about 5 minutes. I don't want to bore you all or overwhelm you, and there's a lot to take in. Sleep is, I don't know how much you guys were taught at medical school, but I don't remember being taught much at all. And it's something that I hold very deep to my heart personally, because I was that numpty who was going around saying things like, you can sleep when you're dead, or, sleep's for losers. And I genuinely thought I was surviving and coping like we probably all do on basically very, very little good quality sleep. And, throughout my career as a GP, I've also seen so many health issues resolve once people start working on their sleep. Yet we are not taught enough about this, if anything about this, at medical school or even in kind of general practice training. So there's huge amounts to sleep. I'm not going to go too much into the physiology and the kind of science of it. I thoroughly recommend Matthew Walker's Why We Sleep, so you guys yourself can start understanding what's going on and why we have a health crisis, especially anxiety and emotional health problems, why we have such a crisis in the UK and in the Western world on the whole. A huge part of it is down to sleep. So what happens when we sleep? Well, a lot of us, really, doctors, still don't even have a clue. 2 things that I'm just going to touch upon really, really briefly is the REM sleep and the deep sleep. And, in these various cycles through the night, cycling through these different aspects of sleep, a huge amount of physiological stuff happens. We repair. All those things that get broken get repaired, okay? Memories get consolidated, blood pressure, pulse drops, cortisol levels drop, your hormones get balanced, stuff gets excreted, the liver has an easier job of doing its job. As I said, I'm not going to get too much into that because it's just overwhelming. From my personal experience, I lost 4 stones over the space of 3 or 4 years. And that was after unsuccessfully trying to lose it through calorie counting for the best part of, I'd say, 2 decades. I'm 43 now. I was fat from about 16, 17. And 2 decades, calorie counting didn't work. Worked on my sleep, lost a stone. So it's really, really incredible. So I'm going to try and keep it simple because it's complicated. Sleep is quite complicated, and the amount of things you need to do to fix it can be quite complicated. But please, guys, if you can really, really try and work on this as soon as you can, just make, small little changes. This is going to affect your immune system, improve your immune system. I know we're not allowed to say things like boost your immune system, but let's say support your immune system. There is no 2 ways about it. You sleep well, you function better. So I'm going to try and split it up into kind of 2 broad categories, because otherwise, as I said, I could just talk about this for days and days. So number 1 is if we can try and fix our rhythm, fix our circadian rhythm. We all know what that is. It's a 24-hour biological body clock that we have. And right now it is completely out of whack. And one of the reasons it's out of whack is our imbalance of parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system activity. So as you guys all know, activate your sympathetic nervous system, boom, cortisol is going to go up. Activate your parasympathetic nervous system, cortisol is going to go down. And we are currently living in a kind of era of sympathetic overdrive. It's ridiculous. Every activity we do turns that on, and we need to learn to try and switch that off a little bit. So one of the things that you can do to start getting just your body to start understanding the difference between night and day is to try and get some daily sunshine. I know it's not easy in this country, but it's easy now, isn't it? So just every day when you wake up, open your windows, open your doors, and just go and stand outside and let that vitamin D hit your naked skin. So no sunscreen, obviously, please. And just spend some time in the sun, getting your circadian rhythm fixed. Now, for the same reason, in the evening, I'd even say from as early as 7 or 8 p.m, try and get all of the lighting, the fluorescent lighting, the blue lights from phones and tablets and devices. Try and get that down as much as you can. There is evidence to show that blue light activation, actually through the pineal gland, actually stops melatonin pulsation, which starts at about 8 p.m. So really want to try and get this sleep-wake cycle sorted. One of the things you can do is expose yourself to sunlight during the day, and in the evening try and get that down as much as you can. Aiming for the same bedtime helps as well. Now, if any of you out here have children or nieces or nephews that you care for regularly, you will really understand what I'm saying. Like when we have kids, we're really quite anal about getting them to bed on time. Why? Because we want them to get a rhythm. Well, it's the same for us, but yet we seem to have stopped doing that. So aim to try and be in bed at roughly the same time and go to bed at the same time as well. Speaking of timing, because I spent all my life thinking you can sleep when you're dead, I just presumed that, I'm an owl. And actually, genetically, we are all, human beings, are predominantly lark. So we actually do function so much better during the day if we gave ourselves half the chance. And by day, I mean starting as early as 4 or 5 a.m, like they do in really, really hot countries. So, if you think that you're falling really, really sleepy at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, but you're pushing yourself through, guys, forget about it. You're larks. Work with it. Work with working early, waking up early and getting more done in the early hours and calming and winding yourself down in the evening. Timing wise, 10:30 seems to be the magical sweet spot. If you try and get to sleep before 10:30, you're less likely to go and hit that second wind that a lot of us happens. Again, this is a physiological reason. If you're in bed and you can't fall asleep, number one, why? Are you physically uncomfortable? In which case, work as hard as you can to get your comfort levels up again. I'm so big into making your bedrooms as beautiful as they would be in hotel rooms. Why do we sleep so well on holiday? Well, multiple reasons, but one of the things is the bedding, the sheets, the mattresses, and all of this stuff. So let's aim to do that. When we know that sleep is such a good medicine, we should be really spending money and time doing this. So, but that being said, if you're lying in bed and you can't get to sleep, that's called a increased sleep latency. People think it's good to go into bed and that people say, the minute my hit hits a pillow, I'm fast asleep. Like that's a good thing. That's not a good thing. It's a sign that you're overtired. You should take between 15 to 30 to 45 minutes to fall asleep. If that's not happening, there's something going on. Either you're too tired or you can't switch off. Now, the can't switch off tends to be the thing that I see all the time. And again, it's down to mood and anxiety. So take a worry journal to bed with you. When you're lying there and you can't switch off, put on a side light, no blue lights, we'll get onto that in a second. Put on a little side lamp, a nice incandescent yellow bulb, and write down your worries. The other thing I like to do with my 6-year-old soon is to do a kind of, we do gratitude journaling. Every morning we write down about all the things that we're really, really thankful for, because we are living in a state of negativity, I'm afraid to say. So yeah, this is not a bad thing to do. Similarly, before you go to sleep, if you are a bit of a worry, if you can't switch off, spend some time chatting to your children, your partner, or a friend on the phone or whatever, and do the three good things. So the 3 good things that happened to you today. I know this is tree huggy. I really know this is tree huggy, but it works. It's free, it's simple, and there are no side effects. So just do it for goodness sakes. Right. So similarly, sorry that I'm having to use crib sheets. It's just that I can kind of go off on tangents. So we talked about if you can't sleep, get out of bed, go downstairs, have a glass of water. Don't try and drink anything else, because then you're going to be up after about an hour to pass that urine. So go downstairs, turn on a warm, soft light, and read something ideally not too stimulatory. So, you know, Barack Obama's biography is probably not a good choice at 11 o'clock at night. Just something nice and simple. And then as soon as you feel sleepy again, make your way up to bed. We need to make the bedroom associated only for sleep and the other activity. But, you know, we're doing so many things in bed, from checking out emails and doing all this kind of stuff, and it's causing huge dramas. Similar to, like, you know, not staying in bed for too long if you can't go to sleep. When you wake up in the morning, also wake up, get out of bed. This lying and pondering and doing nothing in bed, again, is creating the wrong signals. It's the wrong associations, things that we wouldn't do with our children. And because we want ourselves to know bed is for sleeping and the other activities, etc., not for worrying, not for lying there dawdling, not for checking Facebook, if that makes sense. So if you when you wake up in the morning, get up, get out of bed pretty quickly, within 5 to 7 minutes, I'd say. On that front, never, ever, ever hit snooze. It is one of the worst things you can do for your sleep. If your alarm goes off and you are completely, it's probably because you're deep in a deep sleep cycle. So you're maybe in a dream state or something like that, and the alarm has gone off at the wrong time. It will kill you and annoy you, but get up and just deal with it and go to bed earlier that night. Because when we hit snooze, it's, number one, it confuses our sleep cycles so much. We don't even know where we are. We kind of know we're awake, so it's time to wake up, but we're not ready to wake up, so we hit snooze and we just about fall into that sleep rhythm again, and guess what? The alarm goes off again. So no snooze. Just as soon as the more you start practicing and getting used to sleeping better, you won't need the snooze button anyway. Speaking of snooze and alarms, if you don't have to work, don't have an alarm clock. This is a good way of getting your body again back into a nice circadian rhythm. It's an assault on the nervous system. That I mean, how that can even be a ringtone, I have no idea. But that is an absolute assault on the nervous system to be woken up in that manner. If you have to have an alarm clock, make it a nice soft ringing tone one. Make that volume really low, and don't hit snooze. So still on circadian rhythm. Try and keep any sympathetic related activity to during the day. So that's obviously extreme cardiovascular exercise, anything that's going to kind of get you up and revving. Even watching things like horror movies, I know it's a bit counterproductive, but I'm like, watch them during the day, because trust me, it's going to play on your mind. It sounds a bit stupid, you can't control when you fight with people, but don't go to bed on a fight as well. Try and do your fighting during the day if you can. We've got to try and get an evening routine going, guys. We all have a morning routine, groggy, coffee, Facebook. Where's our evening routine? We need to do the same as well. Again, if you've got kids, you do it for them. Why aren't we doing it? Why? What's the point? Well, we want to, we really, really want to get that adrenaline, that noradrenaline down, which is like racing through us in the middle of the night, because you can't just switch off. It doesn't work like that. We need a routine. So I'm always suggesting simple things like Epsom salt baths are wonderful, because Epsom, magnesium, is shown to be a sedative as it is. Plus, we are all deficient in magnesium. We talk about, B12 and vitamin D, which we're all deficient in, but magnesium is responsible for thousands and thousands of reactions, and we're all low in it. So Epsom salt bath with some candles and a book. Again, very, very Sophie Clinzella. I know that it's just like, a little bit tree huggy or whatever you want to call it, but it's true. And if you're sick, and you're not well, it's time to take a stand and just do these things and stop, rubbishing them, for example. So warm baths, magnesium salts, really, really good idea. Try and make there be a 90-minute gap between your evening meal and going to bed. Again, digestion, huge stress. We don't want our blood going to our gut and our stomach when we're lying in bed. We want it to be doing all the repairing things that it should be doing. What other evening things can you do? I mean, we talk about meditation, and it's very trendy now, or it has been for the past few days, but Eastern countries have been doing things like meditation, mindfulness, gratituding since the beginning of time, and it explains why they have much lower rates of things like anxiety, mental health issues, dementia, neurodegenerative issues, because they focus on these things like sleep, food, stress, hugely. They really, really do. We talked about exercising in the evening. Really not a fan of people exercising in the evening. The only things I like you to do if you have to exercise in the evening is things like yoga and Pilates, because it's more, it's more parasympathetic rather than sympathetic. Worrying at night, I spoke about that, having a little journal just by your bedside table. Sleep hygiene, something that you've probably heard about, but nobody really knows what that means. Well, I guess it means make your room as clean as possible, or as inviting as possible. So I spoke about the blackout blinds. I spoke about really, really good quality sheets. Another thing, sleep with your window open, especially in this weather. We could do with as much fresh air as we can. Now, obviously, if you're in a highly polluted central city in London, perhaps that's not the best idea. But if you do live, somewhere where there isn't much pollution, fresh air will do you the world of good. So sleep with your window open, because the optimum room temperature to give you good sleep is between 16 to 18 degrees. If you feel that you're quite a hot person, you're not really able to cool down enough, I would recommend a 1 minute cold shower. Yes, cold shower before bed. If you can try and hit between your what they call your scapulae, where your brown adipose tissue is, that will be really, really good as well for kind of zhuzhing up your mitochondrial function. Something I'm extremely passionate about is electronics in the bedroom. Electronics generally. We are living, this is not a judgmentally thing, it's just a fact. It's a simple fact that we are so obsessed with our screens in this current day and age, and it's depressing. It's nothing short of depressing. People walk around with these things like they're just stuck, literally stuck to people's hands. It's not good. But one of the biggest things that annoys me is things like electromagnetic frequencies and the blue lights that these phones are emitting. Now, there is evidence about EMFs. I'm not talking about 5G and coronavirus. This is not what I'm getting at. I'm getting at the fact that there's just generally too much electromagnetic frequencies in our bedroom. As we all know, our bodies are made of ions and atoms. We are an electrophysiological being. And to think that these things don't affect our function is nothing short of, it's naive, basically. It's extremely naive to think this doesn't have an effect. It does. So turn your phones off. Do not take them to your bedroom, ever. If you have a landline and there is an emergency, someone will call you on the landline. I promise. Because I could tell you 90% of people who tell me that the reason they don't turn their phone off at night is in case somebody calls. I'm like, really? When did that person actually call? And it hasn't happened. So the reality is this is nonsense. Turn your phones off. These make huge amounts of differences to your sleep. When you can't sleep in the middle of the night and you get your phone from under your pillow and look at that screen, I used to do this, by the way, that's it. Your sleep is completely messed up. We need to get out of the habit of it generally. Forget all the physiological things. It's the psychological things that taking our phones with us 24/7 does. I'm going to finish off now because this is run way overrun, but it's the first video, so I hope you guys don't mind. Some quick fixes. There is evidence to some of the complementary and holistic treatments. There's huge amounts of science, loads and loads of peer-reviewed papers on things like lavender essential oil, vetiver essential oil, and just diffusing these in the house, or even, just putting them on your palm and rubbing them, taking a deep sniff in. Similarly, buck flower essences. Dr. Edward Buck was actually a physician in Wales back in the 1930s and 40s, and he's invented all these buck flowers. Now, most people know about rescue remedy, but I can tell you guys, if you're working in the thick of it, in the thick of this virus, the way you guys are, and you're feeling really stressed and really upset and really emotional, that having a little spray of rescue remedy, it might not do anything, but it will, but it definitely won't harm you. Okay, it's better than having a drink or a shot or a sleeping pill or any other pill. Give it a go. There's huge amounts of evidence for this. So one last thing, if it's not you that's causing the problems in your sleep and it's somebody else, I would actively consider a sleep divorce rather than a real divorce, if you catch my drift. So on that, I'm going to call it a day. All of everything that I've spoken about is available. I'll give it to you guys just on a little Word document, and happy sleeping. Take care.